Types of SQL Statements. I hope you all understand the uses of SQL and its history from our previous lesson. Here in this lesson we will see types of SQL commands. Before we get into this lesson, we will see what is meant by command. A command is an authoritative direction or instruction to do something. Now we will see the different types of SQL commands. They are DDL, Data Definition Language, DML, Data Manipulation Language, DCL, Data Control Language, and TCL, Transactional Control Language. Let's see each of them briefly. First, let's start with Data Definition Language, DDL. DDL commands are used to create and destroy database objects like tables, views, etc. Let's see the different statements in Data Definition Language. The first one is create. It's used to create new database objects. The next one is alter. This statement is used to modify the already created database objects. Then drop. This statement is used to remove the database objects from the database. We will see how to use these commands in our upcoming lessons. Next we'll discuss Data Manipulation Language, DML. Data Manipulation Language is used to manipulate data from the database. Here, let's see some of the DML statements. Select is used to retrieve data from the database tables. Insert. This statement is used to insert values into the tables. We can insert data into the tables as rows. Update. This statement is used for manipulating records in an existing table. Delete. It's used to delete the records from the database. Next we move on to Data Control Language. The Data Control Language has commands to configure and control the database objects. These include statements for controlling database access by the user. In DCL there are two statements. The first one is grant. It is used to give the rights and privileges on database objects to the users. And the final one is revoke. This removes or restricts user rights or privileges on database objects. And finally, we will see Transaction Control Language, TCL. These commands are used to manage the changes made by DML statements. It allows statements to be grouped together into logical transactions. In TCL, we have statements like commit, rollback, and save point. Commit is used to save the changes made on the transactions permanently. Rollback does the job opposite commit. This will undo the changes made on the database transactions. Save point. It identifies a point in a transaction to which we can later roll back or commit. We are going to use all these statements in our training, so I advise you to give all your attention to our upcoming lessons. You can also find more information about SQL from this web reference. Data Types in SQL Server 2005. In this lesson, we are going to see different data types in SQL Server 2005. I hope you all have an idea about data types. In upcoming lessons, we are going to create database objects, like tables and so forth. For this, we need to know the basic data types. So I hope this lesson will help you know about the basic SQL Server data types. In a table, every column has a data type. The data type of a column specifies what kind of information or values can be stored in the column and what kind of operations can be performed on those values. While selecting a data type, we should avoid wasting storage space, while allowing enough space for a sufficient range of possible values over the life of our application. SQL Server 2005 supports 30 different data types. We will discuss the most commonly used data types by dividing the data types into 4 major categories: numeric, character, date and time, and miscellaneous. The fundamental data types are numeric data types, character data types, date-time data types. Now we will see each type briefly. Numeric data types. Numeric data types are used for storing numeric data, in which we can perform numeric comparisons or arithmetic operations. Numeric data types can be divided into 2 groups, integers and decimals. Integer data types. Integer data types have no digits after the decimal point and range in size from 1 to 8 bytes of internal storage. In SQL Server 2005, integer data types include int, which uses 4 bytes of storage and can be used to store numbers from -2 to the 31st to 2 to the 31st minus 1. Big Int, which uses 8 bytes of storage and can be used to store numbers from -2 to the 63rd to 2 to the 63rd minus 1. Avoid using the small int, which uses 2 bytes of storage and can be used to store numbers from -2 to the 15th to 2 to the 15th minus 1. Tiny int, which uses 1 byte of storage and can be used to store numbers from 0 to 255. Money, which uses 8 bytes of storage. Small money, which uses 4 bytes of storage. Next, we will see the decimal data type. Decimal data types allow us to store a large range of values as well as a higher degree of accuracy than integer data types. For decimal data types, we need to specify a precision and a scale. Precision is the total number of digits stored, and scale is the maximum number of digits to the right of the decimal point. The storage space of decimal data varies according to the precision. Decimals with a precision of 1 to 9 would take up 5 bytes of storage space. Decimals with a precision of 10 to 19 would take up 9 bytes of storage, and so on. Let's see some decimal data types. Real, which uses 4 bytes for storage and has a precision of 7 digits. Float, which uses 8 bytes for storage and has a precision of 15 digits. Decimal, whose storage size varies based on the specified precision and uses 217 bytes for storage. Here we have discussed the numeric data types. Now we will see the character data types. Character data types are used to store any combination of letters, numbers, and symbols. Single quotes have to be used when entering character data. SQL Server 2005 has 5 types of character data types. They are char, varchar, text, nchar, and varchar. Now we will see each type separately. The char data type. Char, NS. In this type we can store fixed-length, single-byte character strings that can be used to store up to 8,000 bytes of data. Char data is used when the column length is known and unvarying. We have to specify the maximum byte length of a character data type with a value for n, otherwise the default size will be used, and the default size may be set to a size much higher than what we need. The varchar data type. Varchar, NS. This type is used to store variable-length, single-byte character strings that can also be used to store up to 8,000 bytes of data. Here, variable length means that if less data than the specified n bytes is used, the storage size will be the actual length of the data entered. The text data type. It is also a variable length single byte character string, but we can store more than 8,000 bytes in this type. In SQL Server 2005, this data type is a large object data type. Text has extra overhead that drags down performance. Therefore, the use of the text data type is not encouraged. The nchar data type. Nchar data type is used to store a fixed-length Unicode character string. We can specify the maximum byte length of nchar with n. The synonym for nchar is national char. The nvarchar data type. Nvarchar type is used to store variable-length Unicode character strings. We can specify the maximum byte of nvarchar length with n. The synonym for nvarchar is national character varying. Unicode character strings. This type needs 2 bytes for each stored character. Most English and European alphabets can, however, be stored in single-byte characters. Single-byte character strings can store up to 8,000 characters, and Unicode character strings can store up to 4,000 characters. Next we will see date and time data types. SQL Server 2005 has 2 data types for storing date and time information. They are datetime and small date time. Datetime uses 8 bytes. Small date time uses 4 bytes of storage. In this lesson we have discussed the different data types in SQL Server 2005. We will see other data types in our upcoming lessons. Creating tables. An empty shell of a database will do nothing standing alone. So in this lesson we are going to create a database object, table. In SQL Server 2005, data is loaded into tables that are created in a database. In our previous discussion, we talked briefly about the method to create a database. In this section, we will concentrate on creating a table within an existing database. In SQL, the create table command is used to create a table. In SQL Server 2005, the create table command has to be typed in the query editor screen. The general syntax of the create table statement is: in this syntax, create table is a key word for creating a table. Table name specifies the name of the table to be created. Column name specifies the names of the columns to be created in the table. Data type specifies the type of the data to be stored in each column. Here we will see the creation of a table in a database. Now we are going to create the table called employee with 4 columns or attributes. For this, type the following in the query editor screen against the student database. If you don't remember how to select the student database, refer to our previous lessons. Here we have given a statement to create table employee with 4 columns. Employee number column is created with int type. Name and address columns are created as varchar data types, and they store variable length characters. And finally, the salary column is declared as a small money type. I hope you all know the uses of these data types. If you do not remember the basics about data types, refer to our data type lesson. Let's execute this query. This will show the message as commands completed successfully. To view the employee table in the student database, expand the student node in the Object Explorer and in the Tables node. Here you can see the newly created employee table. Now we will see the method to view the definition of the employee table. Right-click on the table Employee and select Modify. Here you can see the definition of the table Employee. Here we can modify the column names and data types by clicking the drop-down button in each data type column. From this lesson, we have learned how to create tables by using the create table command. Inserting values into a table. In our previous lesson, we talked about the method of creating a new table. Here in this lesson, we will see the method of inserting values into the newly created table. There are several ways to insert values into a table using SQL in SQL Server 2005. We will see the two most commonly used ways. Let's discuss the first way. In this method, we can insert values as one row of a table using the Insert Into command with the Values option. Here's the general syntax for inserting the values into the table. Here, the Insert Into values are the key words and all the values of the columns in the correct order. Now we will see this practically. Look at this statement. Here, insert is the SQL command to insert data. Into is a necessary key word. Employee is the name of an existing table. Values is another necessary key word. List of values specifies single row of a table. Then click the Execute button. Now we got a message that tells us how many rows were inserted by the query. Here we have inserted one row, so it shows a message like this. One row affected. Now we will see the row which we have inserted. For this, we need to type the SQL query like this and execute it. Select asterisk from names. This statement shows the inserted values. Note that character data is entered with single quotes around it. Numeric data does not use quotes, as you have seen in the statement. Now we will see the next method to insert values into the table. In previous method, we can insert only one row at a time into the table. But with this method, we can insert many rows into the table at one time. The general syntax for this method is: here, select clause is used to copy the rows from other tables. In this syntax, the rest of the elements are discussed in our previous method. To copy all the names from the employee table into the names table, type the statement like this. Now we have inserted the values from the table employee to the table names. We can see the newly inserted values by selecting the values like this. Here you can see the newly inserted values to the table. If we don't want to copy all the names from the employee table to the names table, then we could restrict the insert select like this. This statement inserts only the employee names whose salary is greater than $2,600. In conclusion, you must be careful with the Insert Into Select option, because unlike the Insert Into Values option, which inserts one row at a time, you almost always insert multiple rows, and if types match, the insert will take place, whether it makes sense or not.